Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Transformation Time. Every Thursday, I host an episode of either Transformation Time or Re Behind the Scenes. My name is Diana Lizarazo, and today's guest speaker is Melissa. Now, before we get started, I want to share some exciting news with you. I have a social networking platform for the real estate investing industry. If you are a real estate investor, if you are a mentor or you're a professional, so you service real estate investors, you want to be a part of this platform. You want to be able to build those connections, find the support that you need, and be around like-minded people. And if you want to learn more about Melissa, she is on there. Check out her profile. Now back to the show. On Transformation Time, our guest speakers are here to share their experiences with you. They will be sharing their personal development journeys and the mindset shifts they've gone through to get to where they are. And we'll even get to hear about what changes they're making right now to get to those big, big goals. So if you guys are ready, let's send Melissa some thumbs up, some hearts, some fire, and let's get her on the stage. I hope things have improved a little with getting people on. Oh, yeah, it has gone better. Hi, Melissa.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good, good. Thanks for coming on. I'm so happy to have you on again.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me.
That's awesome. And so let's get started with just telling the viewers a little bit about yourself. What kind of real estate investor are you in? What type of entrepreneur are you? And just talk a little bit about, your experience in it.
Sure. So I'm a full-time real estate investor and also running a property management business in the Niagara Hamilton areas. I do have an extensive career behind me, if you will, in financial services, about 15 years, and that spanned investment consulting, retirement planning, and ultimately landed in operations at a national level. I left that career a couple years ago to really just focus fully on my real estate investments and building my business. And that's where I land today. So happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome. And so, what even got you interested in real estate? And also, just to add on to that, moving like that full time into real estate. Yeah, what were your decisions, or what made you make that jump? Because I feel like for a lot of people, those cushy good jobs, some people are like, I would never leave that. So what were your deciding factors for that?
Sure. So in terms of getting started in real estate investing, um, it was a slow turn to do so. I did know that I wasn't going to be able to accumulate, you know, the true financial security I wanted to see relying solely on my job. But as anyone who's first embarked on a real estate investing journey, they're pretty large financial commitments, and there's a lot to learn and do and lots of ways to go about it. So it started fairly simply on my end, where I moved out of the apartment or the condo that I had owned and into a house, and I decided to rent out that condo. It was really as simple as that. And then, from there, I ultimately started acquiring other properties here locally and also abroad. And over time, really, I got to see the benefit of that and learn some things along the way. When it came to leaving my job at the bank, and I had a fantastic job and I loved it for many years, made a lot of good friends. It offered a lot of security for myself and my family as well. But ultimately, what it came down to was no longer being fully satisfied with the type of work that I was doing at the time. I couldn't find another role at the bank that really sparked that fire in me. And I had been building my business along the way. I had started the property management really just a few months prior to quitting my job. And and then I also had some family considerations with, my children and my parents were aging and whatnot. So I just decided at that time that it was right to make a move into leave that career and just go full time into building the business and also managing my own investment properties.
That's amazing. And so, for some tips for the viewers, because I know lots of people probably have that fear around leaving, what kind of tips would you give to the viewers who are in that position where they want to leave their job, get into real estate, but that fear is there? Like, what kind of checks do you think they should do? What types of things, advice would you give them?
I think it's really going to depend on what you want and the foundation that you have at the time, right? So, someone who's a single income household and sole provider for their family has a lot more risk leaving a full-time career than a person who has a spouse at home who's working full-time, right? So for many years, or at least in many ways, I think that real estate investing itself was, the easy way to make money. And there's really nothing easy about it. There are a lot of people that I've seen over time promoting, living off the cash flow of your real estate. But the true cash flow is after your maintenance and repairs and expenses. Those things have skyrocketed in recent years. So if you really think that that's the route that you want to go, and whether it's directly with real estate investing, whether you want like a shoot off of that, such as flipping, wholesaling, any other type of related business, I think it really just comes down to, do you have some savings to carry you through? What does it look like from an actual business plan perspective? And does it make sense for you and your goals that you have to achieve? Because it's not the same for everyone. And there's no.
Oh, are you still there? I don't know. Are you guys hearing Melissa? I don't know if it's me
There we
or.
go.
Oh,
I
you're
think so.
okay.
Yeah, sorry. I think there was a call that rang through on my line that
No
interrupts
problem.
this, so I'll just close that off if that happens again. Sorry about that.
No problem.
But essentially, I don't think there's any failure in staying at your job if you love it and want to do it and it provides you fulfillment in other ways. But for those who aren't getting that and do want to leave, I think you just want to make sure that you're good with the reasons why, that you do have a good foundation, that you have a backup plan if things don't go as planned, because sometimes they don't. And when it comes to real estate investing, one bad tenant can make your life very difficult. And when you're starting out, the risk of that is very high. So it's just something to keep in mind, and to make sure that you're really ultimately happy with your decision and that it works for you.
And I love that you said that, a business plan, because I do think, and I think this happens more to a lot of people where maybe they are, let's say, very miserable in their job and kind of get irrational and just leave. Where like that business plan, because if there's a strategy around how it's going to happen, what you're going to do, and like you said, you have the funding and the capability to do it with, like you said, like a backup, at least maybe that backup is just going back to the workforce and being okay with that. But at least having a plan around how that's going to happen, so that, I mean, you're always going to see, there's going to be things that you're going to not realize that are going to come up. But at least in the general, you have something solid enough that it gives you that confidence to go out and try it if that's what you want. And I also really like that point that you made about not leaving your job. A lot of people also think that the ultimate thing is to run your own business, and that if you're not, it's a bad thing. And I think the same as you, like, that is not a failure in any way. That's really knowing yourself, right? Because there's always going to be people that love to be innovative, love to be just like taking risks, figuring out how to do things. And then there's people that, want that don't like that and want to be like, I want to be able to do the things that I'm supposed to do in my job and enjoy that and not stress about, making sure your business is making enough money or something or whatever it is. So I think that's also great that you said that, because I think a lot of people sometimes feel that it's a bad thing if they're having a job, and it's like, no, finding that right situation for yourself, that and with that is knowing yourself enough to know what those right decisions are, so you're not putting yourself in terrible situations. Let's move on to specifically now going for, you were a real estate investor and you started your business in property management.
Mhm.
What types of mindset shifts did you go through during that process?
I think really, I mean, you definitely move from a scarcity to an abundance mindset. And I will keep in mind, starting a business can bring a lot of unpredictability, right? When you go and you work for a company, there's an expectation that you have a regular paycheck, you have an idea of what it's going to be. Now, I have a background in commission sales, so I have been used to some volatility in my income. And overall, I really just have a persistence and a commitment to succeed at what I'm doing. So when it comes to running the business, while there can be some unpredictability, there are lots of things that you can control. And it's really about applying the same principles to the business as I do to my personal life, which is what can I do to bring financial stability to this operation so that you can weather through some of the tougher times of running a business. And it's been far from easy. As I brought on staff, I now have a commitment to them and their families of making sure that our operations are sound and that we're able to make sure everyone gets their paychecks, as an example, right? But at the end of the day, I'm the last one that gets paid, if you will. But I will say that initially, as soon as I left my corporate job, I have paid myself ever since. And what I'm working towards now is not to just be self-employed, but to be a business owner, which means there's an expectation that the business will grow and then I will be able to compensate someone for work similar to what I do now and then also benefit by virtue of being the business owner. And I think that's an important distinction as well to explain, because if I wish to remain as self-employed, then that's more of a lifestyle choice, right? But I have bigger plans for that, if you will, and a great ideas for the future of the organization. And I've grown into it quite a bit. I've sought out a lot of peer support. As a business owner, you're in it on your own, right? It's you and yourself. And as much as you may have great relationships with your staff, and I have wonderful ones with my own, they're great people. They work really hard, committed to their jobs. But when it comes to the day-to-day operations of running a business, there is a lot that I can share for context and insight into why and how we do certain things, but there are other things that they're simply not going to relate to, even if it's only because they don't have that own experience themselves to draw on. And so I've sought that out, and I'm a member of the Entrepreneurs Organization. It's an international organization specifically focused on business owners looking to, or they're already established, looking to grow their businesses, or they're well established and have their own set of peer support that they need. So it just came down to understanding the risk, mitigating it in a way I was comfortable, head down, and working to make things, how I wanted them to be, and then ultimately seeking out the supports where I needed them.
That's great, and that is great that you put money in things like you said, the communities where you can get that support. Because once you do get into that entrepreneurial lifestyle, that pool of people that understand that lifestyle it does become a lot smaller. And and then if you're trying to talk to someone who doesn't understand it, they can't really give you advice because they just don't understand that world. So I think that's amazing that you've put some money to be a part of or an organization like that. And another thing you said, I love that you made that distinction between running a business and being self-employed, because if you're not there, your business may be able to somewhat, run or not at all. It would be like if you go on vacation, it's kind of like your pause for the time of the vacation, or it may be able to run a bit, but not to the full capacity as if it were that you're fully running a business. So I think that's great that you distinct that, because that's also something that people need to take into consideration is what kind of business do you want to run? Like, do you want it to be self-employed where you're just making enough money to do the things that you want to do, but you may not want to deal with the problems of actually running a business and running many employees and having like that high level business strategy and everything that is involved in that. So I love that you brought that up. What about for other mindset shifts? And maybe I think this maybe is what you're probably going to start going through. I'm curious if you've had is like that. You're talking about growing that business and being able to manage more people or that business strategy. Like, where do you see, and if you haven't already, seen those kind of mindset shifts coming up?
I mean, really, I'm very fortunate to have a wonderful peer and mentor group of people around me who support me when I feel like I'm a fish out of water on certain things and ideas, and encourage me to ensure that I'm not playing small with my life, if you will. And so when I think of the kinds of things that I want to do and how I want to grow the business, some of it can be very intimidating, right? So, for example, we're an established property management company, and I'm looking at acquiring other property management companies. That's a big deal. I mean, that comes with business financing. It comes with, assessing the valuation of a business, committing to that, bringing on staff you didn't hire, streamlining operations. There's a lot of things that come in with that. It's very intimidating in a lot of ways, but at the same time, that's okay. And I know that as a resourceful person, I will ultimately find my way through it. And I will probably make some mistakes along the way, but that is how we learn at the end of the day. And so I think from that mindset perspective, it's really that when they say anything is possible, really anything is possible. It's just what is it that I want to be doing, and what's the future that I see, and how do I intend to go about it. So um, yeah, I think that kind of answers things on that end.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really great. And actually, I wanted to go back to something about your business
Mhm.
and starting your business actually was that how was how was dealing with no's for you when trying to find clientele, and how did you overcome it, or what did you do to overcome those kind of things? And I think that also goes into even the things that you're saying now with growing the business. Like how are you going to probably adapt those types of things even in like you said, growing that business and acquiring more property management businesses?
Sure. So there are a couple of different ways to look at that. One is no's on behalf of the people we would like to have as clients, and the others are people. There's no's to people that we don't want to have as clients, right? So our business has grown organically. It's been word of mouth and referrals. We haven't done any marketing really to date, although that is starting to change again, along with our plans to grow the business as a whole. Um, there have been, of course, people who have said, "Hey, I'm interested in property management. Let's have a chat." And I say, "Absolutely. Let's see if we're a good fit." Maybe they're looking for something specific that we can't or won't accommodate, for example, or perhaps they feel they found another option, or that works better for them, or from a cost perspective. Maybe they decide that property management isn't for them at all. I'm okay with no's. It doesn't mean that we've been rejected. It means that to me, they've simply found another solution that should result in a better, happier relationship for them and how the property is being managed. So it's not something that bothers me. I do think that a really important shift in running the business, because at first, of course, you do want to earn every client. You want people to come on board. But I recall a distinct time during our management, and it was a little scary because I had just hired another full-time employee at an administrative level. So when you look at running a business, there are certain types of jobs that will drive income in. So for example, leasing, but if we get things leased, it'll drive income in. Maintenance, if maintenance is happening, it drives income in. When it comes to property management, administration, and things to get the property management work done, yes, it supports the day-to-day core part of the business, but it's not in itself driving income in. You need to have things done properly, but it's a little bit different. And so I hired my first person as an office manager, committed to her full time, and we had a client that was just not working out. And I would say that it was not an insignificant number of units under management at the time that they had with us, but it was a really big, important shift on my end to say, you know what, we cannot continue continue to work with this person under these conditions, and we're going to have to respectfully and professionally end this relationship with them. And it was scary because I just committed to that other full-time salary. I'm like, where's that business going to come from to support this? This wasn't part of my plan. But I will say that as soon as we offboarded that property, or those set of properties, I would say, there are certainly some other more suitable ones that very shortly followed and filled their space. And so it was a really great reassurance to say that sometimes you need to make the tough decisions, but they need to be right for your business and also for your staff that need to work in that business. That's important because without them, this doesn't work, right? And and so it was a matter of us saying no, this isn't a good fit. When it comes to acquisition, that's a little bit different. We may find that, again, when you're dealing with a person who's looking to sell their business, they have certain expectations on what they think that value is. So I always take the approach of, here's the due diligence that I've done upfront on my end. Here's where my experience comes from, and here's what I feel based on what you've shared with me to be a fair offer. Or maybe I don't have enough information in order to make that fair offer. But if you're willing to have the conversation, I'm willing to put my time in to do that. And sometimes these negotiations come together and sometimes they don't. And that's okay, but it's really just operating with fair, transparent, and a fair and transparent manner at all times. At the end of the day, you come out ahead, even if certain deals don't come together.
100%. And like that, I think not letting the no's in any of those types of situations bring you down. Because I think there are lots of people out there that really struggle with the no. And I think having that ability to understand why that no is happening, I think also helps. Because like you said, if there is a better product out there for them that they feel like will work better, if you're like, okay, that's good, and that's good for them, right? Or same thing, or maybe the property that you're acquiring or the business you're acquiring, same thing, maybe just it doesn't work out. And I feel like when you have a better understanding of the situation and you know why that no is happening, I think that also probably makes it feel better, doesn't it?
Yeah, and again, with a background in investment acquisition, I've heard a lot of no's, right? I got very comfortable with it, and it's always something that I, as you said, take away to dissect. Where did that no come from? What was the objection that I didn't or couldn't manage through? Why is that, and does it matter? Right? Sometimes a person says no for no reason other than they found something else that's suitable for them, and there's nothing that you could have done differently. And sometimes there's something you could have done better to say, okay, I really missed the boat on understanding what this person was looking for, and we could offer that, but I didn't do a good job in portraying that, demonstrating that kind of thing. That's okay. That's how we get better. So sometimes, of course, you can get excited about things and say, hey, I have this fantastic opportunity here and I'm really excited. I want to go through, but it may not. It may not. And it could also be simply a not yet. So maybe the timing is off, right? And you say, this isn't going to come together now, but maybe in 6 months something's changed. Can we have another conversation in a few months and see where you're at? And often that will be, yeah, sure, we can do that. And you may find that there's still a future for what you're trying to do.
I completely agree with you. And also going back to that no that you were saying that you did, those no's are also very important because sometimes, especially at the beginning of businesses, like you said before, you're just trying to get as much business as you can and you're trying to ramp it up to be able to make it a viable business, to be able to pay yourself, be able to pay all your expenses and everything. But then knowing when to say no to some because, is it going to be bad for your mental health and it's just not going to help you? And because if your mental health is not there because it's stressing you out way too much, how are you going to be able to get more business? Your mind just won't be there because it's stuck on that one problem that just can't be able to go away. So it's also that knowing when to say no to things for whatever reason it may be it that maybe your business just doesn't provide that type of service that they're really needing, but it's just not there.
Mm-hmm.
Or, or it's just like maybe that the people that you're dealing with, just like the mesh is not happening, where the communication is falling apart, or something is there that it just doesn't work. Whatever the reasons are, also knowing when it's time to step back and know that that type of client or project isn't for you, and knowing that you will be finding the right types of clients or projects for yourself. So I love that you said that. And so going on to another one second. Oops, sorry. And going into now, are there any other mindset shifts that you wanted to dive into that you felt were important for the audience to share?
Um, you know, I'll share something that's come out of my experiences with the Entrepreneurs Organization. There's a wonderful group of business owners, and I think again it applies to real estate investors as much as it applies to the everyday business owners. And that the reality is that even those, you know, it's okay to not have all the answers, and quite frankly, most people probably don't. So, being afraid to take action because you're worried that you don't got it right, really just delays you to find out that maybe you did, or maybe you can benefit from that and change and grow over time. And so, um, you know, I've take I've taken some risks that are probably very risky to other people in some cases, but for me, it's always a calculated risk. And I just think that I go in knowing that I may not know everything that I'm supposed to do, and I may not have all the answers, but I'll do my best to be informed going into something, and then I'm just going to do it anyways. And if it doesn't go as planned or it doesn't work out, then that's also okay. Again, it's a learning opportunity to do better the next time, or maybe to never do it again, or maybe to do more of it. And that's something that took a little bit of time to grow into as well. And I'm constantly seeking out inspiration for that to keep me motivated and on that same type of mindset. So.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that you said that. Those are so important to be able to, and I think that's because you have a good understanding of yourself, to be honest, right? Because like that, in yourself that you will pursue. If there is a problem, you're just going to go and figure it out and get it done,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very important part. And same thing, like to some people, risk is very high, but is it probably because they don't know much about that area to decide. And then so for them, it's a high risk compared to you. Yeah, there's a risk there, but because you know more about that area, and you know how you're going into it, for you, it seems less. And to be honest, I think in anything we do as an entrepreneur, as an employee, as a real estate investor, and anything you're doing, there is always a level of risk.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes just people don't realize, as let's say, especially an employee, people don't realize that the risk that they have. Just because I think everyone does it, and maybe there's just more knowledge around it. So again, for them, it's a lower risk, but there is always still a risk in things. It's just knowing what you're comfortable with, what kind of risks you're comfortable with, and knowing yourself, like you knowing yourself, that if a problem comes up, are you gonna burn and crack, or are you going to thrive and figure it out? And then in the end of it, find out, was, like you said, was that worth it or not? Do I want to continue it because I learned a lot? This was amazing. Now I'm going to, do 10 times better. Or is it something that I realize is not what I want to do, is not helping my business out, helping my career out in whatever way?
Mm-hmm.
And it was learned in time to move on. So I think it's great. I think that just helps, and actually that I guess leads to me in the next question is, what have you done to get, and maybe you already knew this about yourself, but what have you done
to be able to learn more about yourself, to be able to like that take those risks? Or did you already know these types of things about yourself that has made you a successful entrepreneur and real estate investor?
Um, well, I think it deserves a little bit of context. At the end of the day, I have a high school education. I did not have post-secondary education. I didn't go to university. Um, I really had to learn a lot by doing. Now, I ultimately did obtain my financial planning accreditation as a self-study program, and of course, you have licensing exams with securities license as well. But those are more, I'll say, kind of after the fact certificates that you earn, if you will. And and then I went on to also obtain my condo management license. So we're licensed to manage condos, again, in a similar style of program. But I think what I've learned along the way is that that in itself, is not something that should really hold me back. It's really getting out there and doing things that I'm passionate about. And then any gaps in knowledge can be filled, right? So whether it's obtaining professional coaching support, which could be a great option, whether it's consuming online content to get kind of a base knowledge of a certain thing, whether it's taking specific courses about things to say, no, I need some real technical information on this here. At the end of the day, it's all available, right? And I don't really wait for others to tell me it's okay to go get that. I just say, hey, I think I've identified I need to learn more about this. What's my quickest and best way to access that? And then is that going to be enough to get me to where I need to be? And I just constantly reevaluate. So for example, even with looking at acquiring a business, I said, I don't know how to value a business. I can read online about it all I want, and I did do that. But what am I going to do? I actually hired a professional company who does this to say, okay, here's the information that I've got here. Help me value this company and understand what I need to look at. I paid for that. Of course I did. But I think I come out of it the other end as saying, now I know what I'm looking for, right?
Mhm.
Now I've got the hands-on experience, not only for myself, but benefiting from someone who's done this for a living. And I'm able to move forward with that quicker, faster, better, right? So I mean, that's just really how I've gone about it, is that when I've identified there's something that I need to learn, I just seek it out. And I find my way to the right thing. You need to make sure, of course, that you're getting qualified sources of information, shall I say. There are a lot of people out there. I mean, anyone could be a coach or a consultant, right? So where you get your information does matter, but the point is that it's there and it's available. And in the world we're in now versus 20, 25 years ago, there's a lot that's really at your fingertips, and there's nothing holding you back at the end of the day from getting that and then implementing it. Um, there's even some ideas lately. So, for example, within our business, leasing is really challenging right now. It's a tough market, lots of options for people, high rents. It's a challenging environment to be in right now. So we're kind of looking at what can we do to really stand apart and drive people in to look at our vacant rentals and then apply for the units that we have versus someone else. And that comes down to, again, speed to implementation. So I'm kind of looking at what are the options we can do? What can we implement quickly? What makes sense for us as a business? Again, I didn't start out my business necessarily knowing all the answers to how to do things like this, but I did seek it out along the way because the success of the business depends on it, right? So, um, and then you try things, and then you just kind of see and go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Those are all amazing, great points. Now, which I think we kind of did, but maybe we'd like to add on more to this. I wanted to now go to the future and your future goals, which I feel like one of your future goals is at least that you want to grow your business. I don't know if there's any others that you want to share, but basically learning now about you, what are you changing now to be able to reach those big, big goals that you have? Like that, those 5, 10 year goals that you have.
I mean, right now, I'm just keeping in mind that um, having a solid foundation and not going beyond what I should be comfortable with, not too much, just because I think that there's an expectation that I should. Again, I set my own goals for things, and I do what I want at the end of the day, and I answer to myself. So the only one pushing me is me, and it's important to keep that in mind as well too, and just make sure again that it's a kind of a calculated, proper approach to how I want to do things. There's the other piece that's really important here is that I have children, right? So my oldest just turned 18. I have a 13-year-old and I have a 5-year-old. And when they say that the years go fast, you think as a parent that you understand that until your children are grown, and then you really think, oh yeah, the years do go fast. The days are long, the years are short, is kind of what they say. So having an 18-year-old and down to a 5-year-old, I think that's really hitting home for me right now. My kids know that mama's a career woman. You know, I love my work. I enjoy what I do. I put a lot of hours into it, but that can't be at the expense of time with them. And that's something that I find that I'm constantly struggling against to what makes sense. And how does that affect my day-to-day decisions? Because in 5-10 years, they will be grown, and that's it. You don't get that back. Whereas in 5-10 years, if I decided to slow down a little bit on something on the business end, I can always pick that up at a later date. Or maybe I need to go about it in a different way. So that's something that's really important right now too, and just figuring out how do I balance that. I don't have all the answers, but I'm trying.
Yeah, it's a search. You're searching, which is really great because like that it's and having that flexibility to even have that ability to think about that, how to have that work-life balance is so important. And even as you were talking about before, it's being able to spend that money in the right places. I know you were talking about specifically educating yourself, especially when it comes to things that you don't have experience with. But it's also just, I feel like that goes in anything, being able to put that money in the right places to get you what you need, be it, like you said, being able to step back from the business and spending the money so that you can, let's say, spend more time with the family, but you're putting money into the business so that it can be a little bit more self-sustaining, for example, and learning that. I can see that.
Absolutely. And that's thinking about that different piece of it. I mean, we can also benefit from a different type of lifestyle because I am a business owner. So, for example, last year I took my middle son on a trip. We were gone for, I want to say, almost 3 weeks. We went to Belize, to Mexico, and it's interesting because your kids do watch you, right? And I know there was a couple times he's like, "Oh, Mama," he's like, you're working. Can we go out and do things right now?" And I start work fairly early, so this would be like maybe 8-9 o'clock in the morning. But he's up and ready to go, right? And I said, "Well, son," I said, "let's keep in mind that my business and my work allows us to be here today now and to do all these great things. So let me just do a little bit, a little bit more. I need to take care of some really important things for my clients that depend on me. And then we're going to go off and we're going to do the things we want to do, right?" So I now have the ability to have that as part of our lifestyle. And I think that the kids do see the benefits as well as the hard work that goes into it. But what I really want to kind of keep my eyes on is not getting too lost in the growth that I want to see, and making sure that they do get enough of my time, because, yeah, eventually it will be gone.
Completely agree. And I just wanted to give a shout out to migrant real estate investor, Pavel. He was just saying, I like that. I also remember that my why is my kids. So you do not want to miss that time 100%. So he's also agreeing with you. Yeah, I think these kind of things definitely put, like when you put those questions in you, it does put out that perspective of, trying to find that work-life balance, because we don't want to, just be working to work. You want to be working to enjoy whatever that means to you as a person, be it with the family, be it with your excursion, your hobbies, whatever. But being able to actually, you're doing this to actually be able to give yourself more freedoms in other places or self-discoveries. So I think we all strive for that, right? To find that work-life balance, where we can enjoy our lives to the best of our abilities. Any final
Absolutely.
comments that you would like to share with the viewers?
I think we've talked about a lot of really great, interesting stuff. At the end of the day, it's I really try to measure things by my happiness factor, right? Am I happy doing this? Am I happy with where this is going? And if I'm not, what needs to happen to change that? And whether you're a business owner, whether you're a real estate investor, whether you're an employee, I mean, all of those things, I think just looking at, are you happy with what things look like for your life and your family and what's important to you, and just making sure that your decisions serve that at the end of the day. It's been a wonderful guiding factor for me as I've made some really big changes in my life, whether it's from one career to another, one employer to another, from employed to a business owner, to all the other things that I've done along the way. And at the end of the day, that's what we have, right? And keeping that in mind, and keeping an eye on taking care of your health and whatnot, those are all really important things, and probably the most important at the end of the day.
I love it. Thank you so much, Melissa. It was so much fun to chat with you,
Thank
to
you.
get to know you a lot more. I'm sure the viewers got lots of amazing tips from you because you did provide so many of them. If you guys love what you heard from Melissa, you can check her out on REI FAM, realestateinvestorfam.com. You can check out her profile. You can learn more about her. She will also be tagged on here if you want to DM her or just see what she's up to, also on Instagram. So thank you, Melissa, so much. It was so fun to have you on
Thank you.
on the show. Yeah. And if you guys love what you heard from me, definitely follow me too. Bye, everyone. Bye, Melissa.
Bye.